So poops, it's not every day that I get to say it's about damn time, but today it really is about damn time. Because Singapore is finally getting Zulfikar Shariff banned. So poops, if you don't remember Zulfikar Shariff, he's one of the dream team members, including two past politicians who were trying to influence the Singapore general elections. Yeah, so just today, Singapore's Ministry of Home Affairs issued an account restriction direction and disabling direction under the Online Criminal Harms Act, which basically means that TikTok and Meta are going to be disabling this Sapoop's Facebook and TikTok account. Now, which accounts, you might ask? Well, they include the Inquiry, where he posts nonsense day in and day out every single day, talking about how the Malays are being oppressed. Apparently even supporting our most qualified professor, kind of like doing pastor's job because no equivalent exists in Singapore, in the same way that he does on his Facebook account, also slated for banning, where he's casually advertising every single way that he can be reached. So yeah, maybe Singapore wants to monitor these. Anyway, end of the day, if the tech companies comply, which they probably will, then that means that the inquiry is going to be shut down in Singapore. I don't know about all those weird VPN users trying to access his hashtag voice of truth even as he tries to save the Malay, supposedly. But for what it's worth, I think most of us can say good damn riddance. Now, I'm sure some biased people want to go out there and scream about how, oh, you're shutting down freedom of speech. Challenge the substance, don't silence the speaker. Well, based on my personal interactions with Zulfikar, and yes, I do have personal interactions, not only is he not a hero, he's the kind of guy who will repeatedly spew false statements over and over again until people start believing them because they've been repeated so much. But let's start from the start. Because like the Amos Yee story, this is a long multi-season anime. For those of you who didn't know, Zulfikar was once a proud son of Singapore, casually living in Singapore before he became a full-on activist, complaining and screaming about the hijab issue, claiming that the hijab was banned in Singapore, when actually there was just a restriction on wearing it in primary schools. For later on, he yeeted off to Australia, started living there, and at some point, he decided, you know what, I cannot move on. Why don't I go right ahead and radicalize some Singaporeans? Which he did, making post after post after post, gets ISA, arrested for an entire year, becomes a hero in his own eyes, even as he advocates for hashtag jihad, finally yeets back off to Australia, becomes an Australian, cuts off all bridges from his home, and then proceeds to interfere in the general elections as a foreigner. Wow. Now, I know that there are some of you woke childs out there who might be declaring that this is a loss of freedom of speech. How can you do such a thing? Peace, neutrality, justice. And yeah, you can actually see some supporters here and there talking about how this is just purely about discrimination, possibly because they value their religion and race over their Singapore citizenship. And you have the odd commenter here and there, whether from Malaysia or from Singapore, in support of their grand and wonderful hero. And to those people I say, y'all need to sit yourselves down and get better heroes. If you go out and tell me that this guy is a voice for truth, he clears up your mind about the reality of the world, I don't believe it, and if you believe it, I think you're in an echo chamber or you're being brainwashed, so maybe you might want to get help, Sapoop. Yeah, so our Zulfikar Shariff, or the Inquiry Sapoop, or whatever it is that he wants to be known as, like son, he's not here to tell the truth, okay? I know y'all want to believe that he is, maybe because he's fighting for your race or religion, but trust me, as a Malaysian who knows exactly where that's gonna go, trust me, your secular approach is way better. He's literally here to repeat falsehoods until vulnerable people start accepting them as the truth, and he wants to get people to campaign for him over and over again. Can you even imagine that a guy like this is a teacher? More on this later. But anyway, I see a lot of people saying that you should just ignore someone like this, otherwise they will get promoted by the algorithm. But honestly, I don't really think you can do that, because it's not just just about you, right? It's also about other people who might be vulnerable, emotionally damaged or something, and then they read or they listen to the kind of stuff that he is spreading, and before you know it, you have a full-on garden full of all these distorted plants waiting to grow out dark flowers that will end up destroying your entire society. You know, there were already 2 people who gonna radicalize because of this guy. So if you're saying that we should ignore it, I think of that on the same level as ignoring cancer. Oh, maybe it will go away. Very effective, you're a genius. Please try it. Come, I clap for you. Well, I don't wish for cancer for any of you out there, but I do wish that if you're supporting Zulfikar at the moment, maybe you'd at least ask yourself this. If he really cares so much about the Malays and the Malay world, then why is he living in Australia? Why did he not just go all the way to Malaysia so he can hang out with his Norderos buddy that he hangs out with on Facebook alongside with his past sepuk? Maybe he can become a young Bahoma in the future. And you might also ask, if he's so passionate about this, then why doesn't he talk about Australia? I mean, come on bro, there's so much to talk about. There's apparently a ton of Islamophobia ever since October the 7th. The man could make a full-on series about that. And of course, you can't forget Pauline Hanson, who apparently turned up in a burqa just the other day. So when are you gonna talk about that? Oh, hero of the Malay. Somehow I feel, right, that the answer is not now, not soon, probably never. You know, if he really cared about enlightening people, he would be speaking about his local community, but in reality, I don't think he actually cares. I think he just wants a nice life away from any accountability while he milks the ISA cow for all it's worth, tepaling victim of persecution, tepaling Nelson Mandela, radicalizing you from afar and acting like a hero. Well, this is your sepuk telling you that this guy is not a hero. He never has been, he never will be, except maybe to a couple of jokers out there who are trying to defend him using ChatGPT generated comments. And if there's a hero here, then I think the hero is Ministry of Home Affairs and the Singapore Police Force. You guys did the right thing. Congratulations on having the courage to finally do this because it was very necessary, very needed. And so I must ask, right, Australia, when is your turn? Because this guy is just casually living a nice life in your country, getting an education, working as a teacher. Lim Pe is performing influence operations from his own house, and then you ignore him ah. Wah, xia sui leh. What if he starts doing the same thing to the people in Ilim College? And speaking of Ilim Islamic College,
whose website seems to have been blocked or doesn't exist.
What do y'all think about your head of humanities? Is what he's saying day in and day out the kind of humanities you want to teach your students? Or should your school be under suspicion as well? I mean, I don't know about the school, right? But come on, anybody else out there? Anthony Albanese? Penny Wong? Pauline Hanson? Cause in case you're done with your petty arguments and wearing burqas with skirts to make a point,
oh, and your social media ban, which apparently some teenagers are challenging.
Here's a very clear and present example of a danger to the people of Australia, the people of Singapore, Malaysia, and pretty much anyone who believes that moderation is the way forward. So if there ever was a moment when you wanted to stop being accused of being milquetoast who don't dare to say or do anything when extremism is staring you straight in the face, right? I think that time is right now, and you should probably take action. End of the day, this guy's not a refugee, he's an actual Australian citizen. So maybe it's going to become a diplomatic issue if y'all raise this, but anyway, whether you're from Australia, you're from Singapore, or anywhere else in the world, this guy's not a hero, he's a liability. And for all you know, maybe it's time to send him all the way back to Singapore so he can have yet another pleasant and wonderful time in ISA detention. But for now though, congratulations to the government of Singapore on the banning of Zulfikar Shariff. That is an incredibly wise move. And I'm not saying that as someone who is biased, but as somebody who has experienced what this man creates, and knows that if you throw away all the wokeness, liberalism, you know that this man poses a problem, and I am glad that you're taking action to solve it. You probably want to get out there banning all of the other platforms that he's on though, because there are actually quite a lot.
All performing a systematic education campaign to make sure that nobody gets radicalized because of him.
And you know that somebody as desperate for attention and eyeballs as him will probably end up trying to do more, even as he tries to be a hero, while unquestionably, he is a zero. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that, and bye.